The abandoned island of Poveglia in Italy is notorious for its terrifying tales, a place so haunted that even today, locals refuse to set foot on its shores. Legend has it that this isolated island was once a quarantine station for plague victims, and later an asylum for the insane. Imagine this, a father, Mark, who never skipped the routine of bidding goodnight to his son, Liam. It was a silent tradition they cherished deeply. One night, as Mark entered Liam's dimly lit room, he noticed an unusual glow in his son's eyes. With a grin that stretched from ear to ear, Liam asked, "Daddy, can you check for monsters under my bed?" Amused, Mark obliged, kneeling down to peer underneath. To his horror, he found his real son, pale and trembling, pleading, "Daddy, there's someone on my bed." This eerie scene mirrors the unsettling stories of Poveglia, where the line between reality and nightmare blurs. Poveglia's history is drenched in despair. During the bubonic plague, it served as a dumping ground for the sick and dying. Thousands of plague victims were left to suffer and perish on the island, their souls said to still haunt the ruins. Fast forward to the early 20th century, and Poveglia became the site of an asylum where unspeakable experiments were conducted on mentally ill patients. The asylum's doctor, driven mad by the island's dark energy, threw himself from the bell tower. Today, visitors claim to hear the agonizing screams of those tortured souls, echoing through the deserted halls. Mark, trying to shake off the unsettling encounter, researched more about Poveglia and found a chilling connection. The island's tales reminded him of another story involving a man named David who, stranded on a remote island, began to experience inexplicable phenomena. David's nights were plagued by whispers carried on the wind, shadows darting in his peripheral vision, and an overwhelming sense of being watched. One stormy night, he heard faint, desperate cries for help. Following the sound, he discovered an old diary hidden in an abandoned hut, detailing the tragic fate of a family who'd once sought refuge on the island. They spoke of a malevolent presence that drove them to madness, and ultimately, their doom. Much like the plague victims of Poveglia, David felt a growing dread that he would never leave the island alive. Mark couldn't shake off the eerie parallels. He pondered if these tales were mere fiction or rooted in some dark, twisted reality. The notion that an island, isolated and abandoned, could harbor such malevolence sent shivers down his spine. In another spine-chilling recount, Sarah, an adventurous traveler, decided to explore a secluded island in the Pacific, unaware of its dark reputation. From the moment she set foot on the island, Sarah felt an inexplicable unease. She documented her experiences, hoping to capture the island's haunted beauty. But what she found was far from beautiful. At night, she was tormented by visions of ghostly figures and heard the incessant echo of a child's laughter, eerily similar to Liam's unnerving bedtime story. Sarah's final entry in her journal spoke of a powerful unseen force that seemed to possess the island, a force that eventually consumed her sanity. Her boat was found drifting, empty, days later. Mark couldn't help but draw connections between these isolated islands and the terrifying tales they harbored. It made him wonder how isolation and abandonment could stir such dark energies. He thought of the countless souls who might still be trapped in these desolate places, their stories forgotten but their presence ever lingering, waiting for someone to uncover the truth. He realized that these tales, whether from Poveglia, David's secluded island, or Sarah's Pacific nightmare, shared a haunting commonality. They revealed the fragility of the human mind when pushed to its limits by fear, isolation, and the unknown. As Mark tucked Liam into bed that night, he couldn't help but inspect the shadows a little more closely, his mind replaying the eerie stories of the isolated islands. From Poveglia's plague-ridden shores to David's terrifying solitude and Sarah's haunted expedition, these terrifying tales serve as a reminder that sometimes the most frightening monsters are the ones we cannot see, lurking in the places we least expect. Mark whispered a silent prayer, hoping to keep such dark energies at bay, ensuring that their bedtime stories would remain just that. Stories and nothing more. And as he closed the door, he couldn't shake the feeling that perhaps there was a reason some places were meant to be left alone.